My name is Kristen. I am 28, and for the last 5 years, my family has treated me like a walking credit card with a heartbeat. The moment that finally broke me did not happen in some dramatic storm or cinematic meltdown. It happened in my parents' kitchen on a random Sunday afternoon, with my mother laughing while she called me a cash cow. I was standing by the counter, scrolling through emails from work, when I heard her voice from the dining room. Relax, she'll pay for it. She always does. That is what our cash cow is for, right? There was a burst of laughter. Then another voice added, Yeah, she makes tech money. She will not even notice. They knew I could hear them. Nobody lowered their voice. Nobody hesitated. Nobody felt even a hint of shame. I did not walk in to defend myself. I did not clear my throat or joke it off like I usually did. I just stood there, phone in hand, listening to them casually reduce me to a bank account with legs, while planning yet another family vacation that I was apparently financing. My chest tightened, but my face stayed blank. I finished my coffee, put my cup in the sink, and walked past them with a neutral smile, as if nothing had happened. They kept talking about flights and resorts like it was already paid for, because in their minds, it was. I did not argue. I did not respond. But in that exact moment, something inside me snapped into place. If you want to see how one single word no turned their dream vacation into a nightmare they never saw coming, stay with me until the end of this story and do not skip a second. They had not always called me a cash cow. In the beginning, it sounded softer. You are our responsible one. You are the successful one. You understand money better than we do. It started with small things, picking up the check at dinner, covering a phone bill just this month, paying for a weekend getaway, because you are the only one who can afford it right now. Back then, I told myself it was normal. I was the first one to get out of our small town, land a decent job in Los Angeles, and earn more than my parents ever had. I thought helping them was what a good daughter did. It felt like love, not obligation. Then came the first big vacation. They wanted to go to Hawaii. Money was tight for them, as always. My mom called me, voice sweet, telling me how this trip would bring us closer and make memories we will never forget. She did not have to say the words. I offered. I bought 4 tickets, paid for the hotel, and watched their eyes light up when I hit purchase. You are a blessing, my mom whispered, hugging me. My chest warmed. I believed her, but after Hawaii came Mexico, then Florida, then another beach trip. Every time, the script was the same. Someone would mention a destination, sigh about how expensive it was, then look at me. I would feel their eyes on my face, waiting for the familiar line. Fine, I will cover it. Over time, gratitude faded. Expectations grew. The thank you messages turned into casual texts like, "Send me your card info," or, "You can book it, right? You know how these things work better than us." Their voices shifted from pleading to entitled, as if my yes had become automatic. The real punch to the gut came one night when I was scrolling through social media. My cousin had posted a story from a barbecue at my parents' house. In the background, I heard my mother bragging, "We do trips every year now. Kristen pays. She is basically our little bank, our cash cow." Everyone laughed. Someone said, "Wish I had a daughter like that." I replayed that clip so many times I could recite every word. It was not a slip of the tongue. It was a narrative, a role they had assigned to me without my consent. Meanwhile, my own life was not as glamorous as they imagined. Yes, I worked in tech. Yes, I made more than they did. But they never saw the late nights, the burnout, the constant pressure to perform, the student loans I was still paying off, the emergency savings I was trying to build. Every trip I funded for them was a trip I could not take for myself. Every small favor meant pushing back my own goals a little further. When my mom called me a cash cow in that kitchen, it was not the first time she had said it. It was simply the first time I believed that she meant it. Not as a joke, not as a slip, as a fact. That night, I opened my banking app and scrolled through 5 years of charges. Airlines, hotels, rental cars, restaurants, thousands and thousands of dollars. My name on every receipt. Their names on every boarding pass. My throat tightened as I did the math. This was not love. This was a pattern. The next morning, a new message popped up in the family group chat. "So about the next vacation," my mom wrote. "We were thinking about somewhere nicer this year. We deserve it after everything. Kristen, you can handle it, right?" There was a winking emoji at the end. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. For the first time, I did not type yes. I did not type sure. I did not send a nervous joke. Instead, I deleted my drafts and locked my phone. They thought my silence meant surrender, that I would cave, like always, at the last minute. What they did not know was that my silence was the beginning of something else entirely. Have you ever realized that the people you love are not just leaning on you, they are standing on you, and they have no intention of climbing down? Who do you become when you finally stop letting them? A few days later, my brother texted me directly. "We need to talk about the trip. Call me." No please, no question mark. Just an order, like I was the travel agency. I called. He picked up on the first ring. I could hear the television in the background and the casual confidence in his voice. "So, Mom says we found a really good deal to the Bahamas. If we book this week, we can lock in the price." He paused for effect. "We just need your card to make it official." There it was. The assumption. Not a question, a demand. "I am not giving you my card," I said calmly. The line went quiet for a second. Then he laughed, like I had told a joke that did not quite land. "Come on, Kristen. Stop being dramatic. You know you are the only one who can swing this. We will pay you back." He had said those exact words so many times they sounded like a pre-recorded message. "You have never paid me back," I replied, keeping my tone even. "Not once. For any of the trips." He made an annoyed sound. "We are family. Why are you pulling out receipts now? You think we are using you?" The answer sat fully formed on my tongue, but I swallowed it. Instead, I said, "I am not paying for another vacation. Not this one. Not any of them. I am done." There was a long pause. "Does Mom know you are saying this?" he asked, his voice sharper now. "She will," I answered. That night, I called for a family meeting. No food, no cozy atmosphere, no distractions. I wanted this conversation to cut through the noise. They arrived suspicious and tense, like they already knew they were not going to like whatever I was about to say. We sat down in the living room. No one reached for the remote. The air felt heavier than usual. "I am not funding this vacation," I began. My voice did not shake. I had rehearsed this in my head all day. "And I am not funding any more vacations. I have been paying for everything for years. Flights, hotels, activities. I am tired. I am drained. I am done." My mom's face hardened. "What is this about Kristen? We thought you liked helping. You never complained." "That does not mean I was not hurting," I said. "You called me a cash cow." Silence. Then she scoffed. "Oh, that? You know we were just joking." "Were you? I heard you tell people I am your bank, your little gold mine, your way to finally travel." I looked from one face to another. "Do you know how that feels?" My brother crossed his arms. "So what? Now you are the victim we have struggled our whole lives. You are doing well. Why should you not give back a little?" "A little," I almost laughed. Do you have any idea how much I have spent on you all? He rolled his eyes. Here we go with the guilt. In that moment, something clicked. They were not just unaware. They were comfortable. Comfortable with me sacrificing. Comfortable with me being the default provider. Comfortable with the idea that my life existed to make theirs easier. I am not your sponsor. I am not your bank. And I am not a cash cow, I said quietly. From now on, if you want to travel, you pay for it yourselves. The outburst came immediately. Accusations. Insults. My mom said I had changed. My brother said money had gone to my head. Someone said I had forgotten where I came from. They made me the selfish one, the ungrateful one, the bad guy. I let them talk. I did not yell back. I listened to every twisted attempt to make me feel guilty. And while they ranted, I realized something important. If I kept fighting like this, I would lose. Not the argument, but my peace. They would drag me into circles until I was exhausted enough to surrender. That had always been the pattern. So I stopped. I stood up, and with a steady voice, I said, "Fine. If this is how you see me, then I will act accordingly." "What is that supposed to mean?" my mom demanded. "You will see," I answered, grabbing my bag. "Book whatever you want for the next trip. Do your planning. Talk about how I will cover it." I met her eyes. And when the time comes, you will discover exactly what I have done. I walked out of that house calm for the first time in years. They thought it was another empty threat. Another dramatic moment that would dissolve when I sent my card details at the last minute, like always. They had no idea the game had just changed. Tell me, if your own family branded you as their cash cow, would you keep feeding them? Or would you let them feel what it is like when the cow finally stops showing up at the gate? After that meeting, the calls started. Missed calls, voicemails, half-hearted apologies mixed with pressure. "We did not mean it like that. You know how we joke. Do not make a big deal out of this." Each message ended the same way. "So what about the trip?" I stopped answering immediately. Instead, I watched. I watched how they behaved when they thought I was just being moody and would come around. They went ahead and started planning the vacation anyway. Bahamas. All-inclusive. Upgraded rooms. Excursions. They created a new group chat titled Family Paradise, then added me without asking. The first message made my jaw clench. "Kristen will cover flights. We can use our money for fun stuff," my mom wrote. No question mark. No maybe. Just a statement. Screenshots. I started taking screenshots. Every entitled message, every assumption, every casual reference to my bank account as if it existed purely for their comfort. Then I went back through old messages, old posts, old stories, the bragging, the jokes at my expense, the way they told other people about their trips without ever mentioning that I had paid for every single one. I did not gather those receipts for revenge in the petty sense. I gathered them to remind myself I was not imagining things, that I was not overreacting. I needed proof. For me. And maybe, one day, for them. At work, my colleagues talked about their own summer plans. One friend asked, "You going anywhere this year, or are you doing the usual family sponsorship again?" The way she said it stung, because that was what it looked like from the outside. Not generosity. Sponsorship. "Not this time," I replied. "This time, I am doing something different." That night, sitting at my desk with my laptop open, I made two decisions. One for them. One for me. For them, I opened a travel site and searched the exact dates they had been talking about. Bahamas. Same resort. Same rooms. I clicked through the options carefully. Pay now, pay later. Reserve and pay at property. Fully refundable until check-in. The system gave me choices, and I chose the one that would expose exactly how much they relied on me. I made a reservation in their names. I entered my own email so all confirmations came to me. At the payment section, I selected pay at property, card required at check-in, no charge in advance. To my family, the screenshots would look exactly like a fully paid trip. To the resort, it would look like any other booking with no money attached yet. I forwarded them a screenshot of the confirmation number with a simple message. Here, booked. That was it. No smiling emojis, no exclamation marks. Just what they wanted. Proof that I had taken care of everything. Within seconds, the group chat exploded. Knew you would come through. You scared us for a second there. Our cash cow still loves us. Someone dropped a string of laughing messages. I stared at that last line for a long time. Our cash cow still loves us. They were right about one thing. I did still love them. But not in the way they imagined. Not in the blind, self-sacrificing way that had kept me stuck for years. Love without boundaries is not love. It is self-destruction dressed as loyalty. For me, I made another booking. Different dates. Different location. A quiet, solo trip to a small coastal town I had always wanted to visit but never could, because my money was always tied up in their plans. I paid for it in full, with my own card. No one else knew about it. No screenshots, no group chat, just me and a confirmation number. In the weeks that followed, I played my role. When my mom called to talk about outfits and excursions, I listened. When my brother bragged to friends on speakerphone about our annual family trip, I said nothing. They assumed silence meant compliance. During one call, my mom said, half joking, "You know, if anything goes wrong with the bookings, I am blaming you. You are the tech person." "Then I guess you better hope everything goes exactly as you expect," I replied. She laughed, not catching the edge under my tone. As the departure date approached, the energy in the chat climbed. They sent packing lists, countdown messages, beach photos from Pinterest. I watched it all. Detached. For the first time, I did not feel guilty for not sharing their excitement. I felt something else. Anticipation. Not because I wanted to see them suffer, but because I wanted them to finally see reality. To realize that the trip they had taken for granted all these years was never magic. It was me. It was always me. Have you ever been so used to carrying everyone that you almost forget they have legs of their own? What happens when you finally step aside and let them feel the weight they kept dumping on your shoulders? 2 days before the trip, my mom called. This time, there was a strange urgency in her voice. "So, you are packed, right? Flights are at 7. We will swing by your place at 5 to pick you up." I had rehearsed this moment. I knew what I was going to say. Still, my fingers tightened around the phone. "I am not going," I said. Silence. Then, "What do you mean, you are not going?" "The rooms are booked. The flights are booked. Everything is in your name." "The reservation is in your names," I corrected. "I booked it for you, but I am not coming." "Kristen," she said, my name sharpening into a warning. "Stop playing. We are leaving in 2 days." "I know," I replied, "and you will have an amazing opportunity to take care of yourselves." The explosion came fast. "You are doing this to punish us. You are being cruel. You know we cannot afford this without you. How dare you pull this at the last minute?" Last minute. The phrase almost made me laugh. I had been warning them for months. They just had not been listening. "I told you I was done paying for vacations," I said evenly. "You decided not to believe me. That is not my problem." She hung up on me. The group chat lit up. Accusations, threats, manipulations. "You are tearing this family apart. You owe us after everything we did for you. If you do not come, we are canceling and it will be your fault." I did not respond. I muted the chat and went back to packing my own suitcase for my quiet solo trip. My plane would take off a day after theirs, to a place none of them had ever bothered to ask about, because my desires had never been a priority in their world. The morning of their departure, my phone buzzed non-stop. Calls, messages. I let them ring. I pictured them rushing through the airport, arms full of bags, convinced that no matter how dramatic things had sounded on the phone, I had still paid. Because I always did. Because that was the story they believed about me. I did check my email, though. Out of habit. A notification popped up from the airline confirming their check-in. No payment issue there. They had bought those tickets themselves after I went quiet, probably expecting to splurge on extras at the resort with my magic card handling everything else. Then, a few hours later, another email, this time from the hotel. Guest pre-arrival confirmation. Pay at property. Card required upon check-in. I could almost see it. Them arriving, sun in their eyes, already in vacation mode, walking up to the front desk with that entitled confidence. I was not there to watch, but I got to experience it anyway through my phone. First came a text from my brother. What is going on? The hotel is saying nothing is paid. Then another. They are asking for a card. Mom told them you already handled it. Did you mess something up? I waited. Let the panic build. Another message. They are saying the reservation is valid but no charges have been made. They want us to pay the full amount now or we cannot check in. Answer your phone. Finally, my mom called. I picked up. In the background, I could hear the murmur of other guests, the low hum of lobby music, the sharp edge of embarrassment in her voice. They are telling us nothing is paid, she hissed. They are asking for thousands on the spot. I told them you already took care of it. Fix this now. No, I said. There was a beat of silence. What did you say? I said no. I did exactly what I told you I would do. I booked it. I did not pay for it. You are all perfectly capable of paying your own way. This is not my problem. Her voice cracked between anger and panic. We do not have that kind of money just lying around. They are standing here waiting for a card. People are staring. Do you want us to be humiliated? I closed my eyes for a second. I could picture it clearly. The front desk agent waiting politely. Other families checking in with their own cards. My family realizing, maybe for the first time, that the world was not built on my endless yes. You did not care about humiliating me when you called me a cash cow, I said quietly. You did not care when you joked about me being your bank in front of other people. You did not care when you assumed your trips mattered more than my future. So no, I am not fixing this. You can pay, or you can go home. You are heartless, she spat. After everything we sacrificed for you, this is how you repay us. I have been repaying you for years, I answered, with interest. This is not revenge. This is balance. For a moment, there was only the sound of her breathing hard into the phone. Then I heard my brother's voice in the background, low and angry, arguing with the front desk. I caught fragments. She said she paid. We were told it was covered. We have kids with us. The agent's calm replies, we cannot check you in without payment. Kristen, my mom said finally, her voice smaller now. Please. The word lodged in the air between us. Not a demand this time. A plea. It almost pierced the armor I had built. Almost. If I pay today, I said slowly, this never ends. You know that. I know that. You will go home from this trip and start planning the next one, still expecting me to cover it. You will keep calling me the cash cow. You will keep telling people I exist to pay for your fun. I took a breath. I am done. If you want this vacation, you will find a way to pay for it yourselves. If you cannot, you will go home. Either way, you will walk out of that lobby knowing exactly how much you have been taking from me. Maybe being forced to feel that pressure for once will teach you something my begging never did. I let the silence stretch. Then I added, "And by the way, if you ever tell people I abandoned you, I have all the screenshots. Every joke, every brag, every time you called me your bank. I will not let you rewrite this story." Her answer came out as a whisper. "All we were doing was counting on you." "Exactly," I said. "And that is the problem." I hung up. Then I turned my phone to airplane mode, not because I was boarding a flight yet, but because I was done being available every time they wanted to lean on me. As I zipped my suitcase for my own quiet trip, a strange calm settled over me. They were finally standing face to face with the reality they had refused to see for years. No magic, no loopholes, no last-minute rescue. Just the simple truth. Without the cash cow, the pasture looks very different. If you were in my place, would you have stepped in at the last second to save them? Or would you have let them feel the full weight of what they had built on your back? I did not know exactly what they chose in that hotel lobby: pay or leave, swipe or walk away. All I knew was that, for the first time in years, the outcome did not depend on me. I spent the rest of that day in my apartment, packing for my own trip. Comfortable clothes, a couple of books, my laptop. Nothing flashy. My vacation was not about posting photos or impressing anyone. It was about disappearing from the role they had written for me. That night, I finally took my phone off airplane mode. It lit up with notifications like a slot machine, missed calls, voicemails, dozens of messages in the family group chat. I scrolled slowly. At first, it was pure panic. "They are saying you never paid. We are standing here like idiots. This is humiliating." Then anger. "You did this on purpose. You wanted to embarrass us. What kind of daughter does this?" Then the tone changed. The messages got shorter, colder. "We put it on my card. We will figure it out without you. Enjoy your life. Do not bother calling." So they had paid. They had found the money somehow. Maxed out a card, maybe. Borrowed from someone. Scraped together what they always claimed they never had. Buried in the chat, there was one line from my mom that made my fingers stop. "We stood at that desk and prayed your payment would go through. Prayed they were wrong, but they were not. You really left us there." There it was. All they could do was pray. For years, they had treated my yes like a guarantee, a law of nature. Now, faced with a bill they thought I had already absorbed, they had finally felt the panic I had been living with in silence. I put the phone down and let that sink in. I did not feel proud. I did not feel triumphant. I felt level. Like the scale had finally tipped out of the extreme angle it had been stuck in for years. The next morning, I boarded my own flight. No one knew where I was going. I sat by the window, watching the city shrink beneath the clouds, and felt something I had not felt in a very long time: light. Not because my problems had vanished, but because I was no longer volunteering to carry everyone else's. In the small coastal town I had chosen, life moved slower. I walked along the water, ate meals alone without rushing, slept without my phone under my pillow waiting for the next crisis text. On the second night, I opened my laptop and wrote out the whole story, start to finish. Not with names, not with identifying details, but with every ugly piece of truth. I posted it anonymously on a forum where people talk about family dynamics and boundaries. I expected a few comments, maybe some mixed opinions. Instead, the responses poured in. "You are not cruel. You are setting boundaries." "They called you a cash cow. That is dehumanizing." "This is not about a vacation. This is about years of financial abuse." "Do not go back to the old pattern when they cool off. They will test your no." I read every comment, some with tears in my eyes, some with a strange sense of validation. For the first time, strangers, not just my one close friend, were saying what I had been too afraid to name. This was not a misunderstanding. It was exploitation. I forwarded the post to Sarah, my best friend, with a simple message. "This is me." She called almost immediately. "I knew some of it," she said, "but not all." "Kristen, this is bad." "It was bad," I corrected. "Now I'm trying to make it better." She told me about her own cousin who had done something similar, stopped funding a parent who treated her like a bank. She was called selfish, ungrateful, all of it, Sarah said. But a year later, her family adjusted. Funny how fast people learn when they have to. We talked for over an hour. When we hung up, I did not feel like a villain anymore. I felt like someone finally walking out of a trap they had pretended was a gift. On the last night of my trip, I got a message from an unknown number. It was my cousin. "Hey, I heard what happened at the hotel. They are telling everyone you humiliated them. But we all know they have been bragging for years about you paying for everything. If you ever need someone to back you up, I will." So the story was spreading. Of course it was. My family hated being embarrassed more than they hated being wrong. I had given them both. For a moment, I wondered what they were saying in living rooms and group messages I was no longer part of. Was I the ungrateful daughter now, the traitor, the cold-hearted tech girl who forgot her roots? Then another thought hit me. Let them talk. Let them twist it however they need to in order to protect their pride. I had something stronger than their version. I had reality, screenshots, bank statements, memories. And most importantly, I had a new rule. I would never again pay for my own mistreatment. When I got home, the apartment was exactly as I had left it. Quiet. Still. My suitcase thumped softly against the floor as I set it down. My phone buzzed one time, a calendar reminder I had forgotten to turn off. No new messages from my family. The silence felt loud but not empty, more like a pause between chapters. What do you do when the people who raised you refuse to see you as anything but a resource? Do you spend your whole life trying to convince them, or do you start living as if their opinion is not the final verdict on who you are? They came back from the vacation a week later. I only knew because my cousin texted, "They are home, and they are mad." For 3 more days, nothing. No calls, no messages, no knocks on my door. I went to work, came home, cooked, slept. The quiet became almost comfortable. Then, on a Thursday evening, someone buzzed my apartment. "It is Mom," the intercom crackled. I stared at the panel for a second. In the past, I would have opened the door immediately. This time, I asked, "Are you alone?" "No," she said. "Your brother is with me. We need to talk." Old reflexes flared. Guilt, anxiety. But they did not overrule me. "If this conversation is going to be about convincing me to go back to paying for everything," I said slowly, "you can leave now. I am not changing my mind." There was a pause. Then she said, "Please, just talk to us." I buzzed them in. They walked into my apartment with none of the careless energy they usually carried. No jokes, no casual comments about my place, no subtle digs about how fancy my building was. My mom looked tired. My brother looked angry and embarrassed, which for him was almost the same expression. We sat at the small table in my kitchen. No coffee, no snacks, just 3 people and a heavy silence. "So," my mom began, "we had to put the whole resort on my credit card. The rate was higher at check-in, plus the fees. It was a mess." "I am aware that is how hotels work," I said quietly. "That is why I always paid in advance for you." She flinched a little. "We did not know it would be that much." "Yes, you did," I replied. "You just never had to look at the number before." My brother leaned forward. "You embarrassed us, in front of strangers, in another country. Do you have any idea how that felt?" "Yes," I said. Because that is how it felt every time you joked to other people that I was your bank, your cash cow, your walking credit card. The only difference is, you never cared when I was the one being reduced to a joke. He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it again. My mom rubbed her temples. We prayed at that front desk, she said softly. Prayed the system was wrong. Prayed your payment would show up somewhere. We thought you would swoop in, like always. But you did not. I know, I said. I heard you. You texted it to me. She nodded slowly. That was not a good feeling. Good, I answered. Maybe now you understand why I could not keep doing it. It was not just the money, it was the expectation. The way you talked about me. The way you planned your lives around my income without asking whether I was okay. My brother muttered. We struggled for years before you could help. We thought this was finally our chance to enjoy something. And I do not begrudge you that, I said. I wanted you to have those experiences. That is why I paid for them for so long. But somewhere along the way, gratitude turned into entitlement. Help turned into obligation. You did not ask. You assumed. You did not thank me. You bragged about me like I was an object you owned. I pulled out a folder I had prepared days earlier. Printed statements, highlighted charges, screenshots stapled to timelines. I slid it across the table. This is 5 years of vacations, bills, and little things I have covered, I said. Look at the total at the end. My brother glanced down first. His jaw shifted. My mom's eyes moved slowly over the pages. I watched her face as the numbers registered. We had no idea, she whispered. You did not want to know, I replied. You wanted the trips, the photos, the feeling of being taken care of, knowing the cost might have ruined the illusion. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then my mom said, So what now? Are you just done with us? Are we supposed to never travel again? I cannot control what you do, I said. If you want to travel, save for it, plan for it. Use your own cards, your own money. Ask each other for help if you want, but I am out. No more funding vacations, no more emergency bailouts because you spent what you had on fun stuff and expected me to cover the boring realities. She swallowed. What about real emergencies, medical bills? Rent. I took a breath. This was the hard part, the line I needed to draw clearly. If there is a real emergency, health, housing, something life-threatening, I will think about it. I am not promising anything, but I will consider helping. Once, with clear limits. But vacations, upgrades, shopping, debt from overspending that you call bad luck, that is not my responsibility. Not anymore. My brother shook his head. You sound like a banker explaining loan terms. That is what you turned me into, I said. So I am retiring. My mom's eyes filled with tears. We did not mean to hurt you. I know, I answered. But you did. And intent does not erase impact. You can say you love me, but love without respect, without boundaries, is not love I can survive on. She reached across the table but stopped halfway. Can you forgive us? I thought about all the comments on my anonymous post. All the times I had almost caved over the years. All the nights I had stared at my account balance, wondering why I felt so guilty for wanting to keep my own money. I am working on it, I said honestly. Forgiveness is not a switch I can flip. It is going to look like distance for a while, fewer visits, fewer calls. I need time to relearn who I am when I am not your provider. So you are punishing us, my brother said. No, I replied. I am protecting myself. The fact that it feels like punishment to you says a lot about how much you were benefiting from my lack of boundaries. We talked in circles for a while after that, but something had shifted. They did not shout as much. They did not throw around the word cash cow again. At one point, my mom whispered, I told your aunt about what happened at the hotel. She said you were cruel. I shrugged. She can think what she wants, but if she ever calls me for money after saying that, she can pray too. My mom almost smiled at that, a small, tired curve of her mouth. You really changed. No, I said. I just stopped letting you decide who I am. When they finally stood to leave, my mom hesitated at the door. We will try, she said. To do better. To stand on our own feet. I hope you do, I answered. For your sake, not just mine. After the door closed, the apartment felt quiet again, but this time the silence was not heavy. It was spacious. There was room for me in my own life. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up the anonymous post I had written. I added an update. They went on the vacation. They had to pay at check-in. They panicked. They prayed. And they realized nothing had ever been free. We talked after they got back. They saw the numbers. They saw me. I did not rescue them. I did not cave. I set rules and stuck to them. I do not know yet what our relationship will look like in a year, but for the first time, I am not afraid of that question. Whatever happens next, it will not be built on me being their cash cow. I hit post and sat back. A notification popped up almost immediately. Someone had replied, "This is not you being cruel. This is you turning off the tap they drilled into your soul without asking. They will either learn to stand or drown in their own choices. Either way, you are free." Free. The word settled into me like a warm, steady weight. Not dramatic. Not explosive. Just solid. People like to say that revenge is about making others suffer. But sometimes, the most powerful revenge is simply refusing to keep suffering for people who think your pain is part of the deal. So if you ever find yourself being treated like a walking wallet, a permanent solution, a cash cow dressed up as a good child, remember this. You are allowed to step away from the pasture. You are allowed to say no. And when they finally realize that their prayers for another bailout will not be answered, that is not cruelty. That is the first honest chapter you have written in your own story.